Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Capture every educational moment in stunning detail and edit, produce, and share your creative journey with ease. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education, transforming classrooms one innovation at a time. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. I'm your host, Adam Todd. Get ready to tap into the power of motivation and innovative teaching strategies. Together, we'll ignite a love for learning in your students, fostering an inclusive environment where every child can thrive. Join us on this transformational adventure that empowers you to unlock your full potential as an educator. This is Classroom Dynamics, where inspiration meets innovation. Calling all educators. Are you ready to inspire creativity and engagement in your students? Unlock their full potential with content creation. Imagine empowering them with cutting-edge tools like the Blue Sono microphone from Logitech, which ensures crystal clear audio quality for impactful projects. Logitech offers a full range of content creation solutions, from audio equipment and cameras to lighting and editing software. Plus, they have a suite of education solutions tailored for classrooms, elevating the learning experience for students and educators alike. Empower the next generation of creators by exploring the possibilities at logitech.com/education today. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast that brings you the latest trends in educational technology and teaching strategies in bite-sized form. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and in today's episode we'll be taking a look at MerlynMind, an edtech company that's bringing artificial intelligence and a virtual teaching assistant to a classroom near you. Now, MerlynMind isn't just a platform or new buzzword. With its ability to be untethered from a computer or an interactive whiteboard, along with the use of just a teacher's voice, it's a catalyst for inspiration and transformation in education. So what's the magic behind MerlynMind's success? For one, it seamlessly weaves into the classroom fabric, creating an environment where imagination takes center stage. It's also intuitive and accessible, opening doors to a world of interactive learning for students of all backgrounds. And teachers not only become architects of engagement, but they have the ability to immerse students in a whole new world of AI. And that's the key, because it's not just a tool, it's a conduit for collaboration and connection no matter where you are in the classroom. MerlynMind not only simplifies lesson delivery and on-the-spot support for a teacher, but it can assist with classroom management and elevates the overall teaching experience, making it a valuable ally for educators seeking to inspire and educate their students more efficiently and more effectively. So whether you're a tech aficionado or just beginning your digital teaching adventure, you may want to consider MerlynMind to be part of your new personal assistant in the classroom. It's a force that's shaping the future of education and inspiring educators and students alike. Join us as we explore MerlynMind's world and uncover how it's rewriting the story of lesson delivery for teachers and students. Get ready for a journey that will leave you inspired and ready to take your classroom to new heights. It's all coming up next on Classroom Dynamics. Are you a dedicated educator searching for fresh and engaging resources to inspire your students? Look no further than Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. Discover a treasure trove of easy-to-use lesson plans, vibrant visuals, and interactive activities designed to captivate young minds and ignite their love for learning. Unlock the potential within your classroom with Highly Motivated, from differentiated lap books to test prep passages on a multitude of topics. Our wide range of materials cater to most elementary and middle school grade levels. Join the community of passionate teachers who have already transformed their classrooms. Visit Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers and get ready to inspire, motivate, and empower your students like never before. Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers, where knowledge meets inspiration. He's a senior account executive for MerlynMind who directly works with schools and school districts to bring safe artificial intelligence solutions to classrooms. I'd like to welcome my special guest for today's episode, Tim Hodkinson, to Classroom Dynamics. It is awesome to have you here with us.
Adam, super cool to be here with you. Thanks so much for the invite.
This is going to be a lot of fun because I've had some experience with MerlynMind, thanks to you guys, and I absolutely love it. I really think it's such an amazing device that every teacher should probably have in their classroom. It has this almost, I think, like a Siri-like feel. There's a comfortable virtual kind of teacher assistant feel to it, that I think teachers would love to have at their disposal. Everyone loves to have it on their phones. And I think in the classroom to have a device that does similar things with what you're doing on a daily basis, I think that's gigantic. It's huge. For technology teachers and technology coordinators, even administrators who are listening, if they don't know about MerlynMind, how would you go about telling them what it does, how it reacts, in basic layman terms for them?
Sure. Sure. And I think, and you did a great job sort of laying the foundation there. We live in a world of immediacy, and in a way, sort of a hands-free, futuristic type world. In your home, you potentially have an Alexa or Google Home or a Siri, and we live in this world of immediacy. I want to ask it something from across the room, and it does it, right? And even with a smart TV, I can speak into my remote, and I can turn the channel or bring up a movie. And that's actually a little bit closer to the whole concept of what Merlin does. Is, well, how do we take that convenience, that a whole convenience that just allows you to not have to fumble around with buttons, not have to go from one spot to another while you're doing something, and just make it easy to switch and control some of that technology in the classroom so that you can focus. So it really is essentially it's a voice assistant for the classroom. Uses AI and speech recognition to power some of the things that we do on a daily basis all throughout the day in the classroom, and just makes it easier for us to go through the day and not be bogged down by the minutia of some of the things that technology asks of us.
Yeah, many years ago, and I say many, back in college, we had to read a book. I forgot what class it was. I think it was along the lines with business and other things. And it was The McDonaldization of America. That's the title of the book. I can't recall who the author was, but it was The McDonaldization of America. And that was back in the 90s. And if you applied that same just one line idea to technology, you hit it on the head. It is this immediacy. It is like, I want to get going. I want to click it. I want it to open. Even just think about like the bandwidth from 10 years ago versus bandwidth today is totally different. Fiber wasn't really there. Click something, open it, play something, videos on demand, music, you name it. So I think that's exactly what teachers are striving and really thirsty for, because that is almost the name of the game with the kids that they have in front of them.
Yeah, patience has become a thing to be desired. We just live in this world of, I ask something and I get it now, and I want that everywhere. So
that's right.
That's where we are.
So AI just didn't appear overnight. This is something that's obviously been around for a long time. You just don't get AI, right? There's a lot of work that's probably been going on behind the scenes for most likely decades. The idea of AI and the AI use has actually been around to the point where now it's almost becoming shoved down everyone's throat. It's really happening fast. So in terms of ed tech, though, and artificial intelligence in the classroom specifically, what's the history and the inspiration behind the creation of MerlynMind?
Yeah, and Adam, AI is since November of last year, right? AI has a whole new meaning, right? And AI is really just a big umbrella term for a lot of things underneath. And
right.
And what a lot of us are familiar with is a part of AI, which is called machine learning. And that's really what happens with a lot of the technology, and going back in years and years and years, is like, how do I get a computer to do something, right? And now we're just in this world of this generative AI that can do amazing things. But you said it, like, AI has been around, right? And where Merlin came about was our three co-founders worked for IBM. And they were on the AI research team, and this is over a decade ago. And so they've spent quite a bit of time researching this. And, they were working on projects where, if you remember Watson,
Right.
Watson, the computer that beat Ken Jennings on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So there was a project that our co-founders were working on at IBM where how can we take this Watson technology and apply it to education? And through that work, it was the core of the project was, can we create an intelligent tutor that would act like a teacher, or really take the place, or not replace teachers, but really could act in the role of a teacher. And through all the research and all the possibility that they were able to come up with, it was the thing about the humanity of a teacher that they found could never be replaced.
We saw that through COVID.
Right. So as a former educator myself, and talking to the educators who are listening, it's there's this fear: is AI going to take my job? Our founders strongly believe that that's really a long, long way away from happening, if ever, simply because we cannot. AI will never have the emotion or the connection that a human being will. So what the founders decided was, well, let's kind of pivot and come up with ideas that can use this technology to be a teacher assistant. How can we make teachers even more awesome, right? How can we give them this capability to multitask? How do we make their lives easier? Because those connections are what really matters. So how can we maximize those connections in the classroom? And then in 2018, they finally decided, we're going to start this company, MerlynMind, and we're going to use our knowledge of AI and build a product that does exactly that. We're going to make teachers' lives easier.
Right. So let's take it a step further now, right?
Yeah.
So what specific challenges does MerlynMind aim to address within the walls of the classroom?
Yeah. So thinking about, connected to technology, it in some ways, it's the simple things of, with all of these apps and websites and, tools that, I was the type of teacher that was always looking for the next tool, right? But then it became like, oh, which tool do I use for this? And which tool do I use for this? And the number of curriculum tools and creation tools and, practice tools and all those things that are in our hands and in our arsenal, that's a lot to manage. So there's an actual thing called techno stress, and it's really in ways that we interact with the technology. And a lot of times it sort of gets in the way because it takes too many steps, right? And you've seen it, you've probably experienced it, is if something takes too many steps for me to accomplish, I'm going to get frustrated. It's stressful, and I'm either not going to do it, or it's going to take me, way too long. So the idea is, initially, how can we remove the number of steps, remove the barriers of the friction between a teacher and technology? And one of the big ways to actually do that is to just ask it using my voice. And as simple as that may sound, it's rather than going to the computer and searching for a file or a presentation or a video, if I could just ask, open my fractions presentation, and it does it. Well, it's just a more natural way to interact. So, a lot of it's about removing the barriers that exist between human and technology.
And there's this magic factor with that too, because even the kids, they like that. There's so many things the teacher is thinking about during the course of the day, or has to do during the course of the day. And you hit that right on the nose, to be able to use their voice. And I've done it, open up Google Classroom.
Right.
And use I know it comes with a remote, and you could scroll down to even be able to stand next to a kid who might not be totally focusing at the moment, and go away from the computer for a couple of seconds to actually still use the computer with my voice was and it still is a huge, part of it. I love that part.
Yeah. And you mentioned the remote, right? So, and earlier I compared it to the more of like a TV with a smart remote. It's because, you can use your voice to do things, but you can also utilize that remote from anywhere in the classroom. That's really your magic wand, if you call it. And Merlin, actually, you might think about the magician, but Merlin's not named after the magician, but it just so happens to be sort of a very fitting name. The ability to be present in the classroom and use the full space of that classroom is is really powerful.
True. It's worked. I've done it. I love it. Everything
Yeah.
you've just said exactly is what it is.
Right.
So MerlynMind emphasizes interaction and engaging classroom experiences. We're just talked about that. So let's take a listen to what some teachers have said about MerlynMind.
When the team showed me Merlyn and I could see what it could do through the remote and the voice activation, I thought, man, we're really onto something, because this is a case of technology making our teachers' lives so much more efficient.
My students and I love Merlyn. We use it every day. And on my end, it's kind of like having a teacher assistant in your classroom, and I'm able to be away from my computer.
Being able to just be free of a computer so that I can be with my students. That is I think the key, because that, like, we talked earlier with them opening up a computer. If I'm on a computer, like, there's a certain amount of my attention that is taken away from them. Like, I'm having to look at a screen and then get back to them. I'm having to manipulate something on the computer to get back to them.
And the time to spend with the students is really like the focus, right? Is that I'm not stuck up at the front. I could be in like the other opposite end of my classroom talking with the student and tell Merlyn to pull up a tab or to Google something.
At first, I was a little intimidated. I thought that it was going to be something really difficult or challenging to use, and it really wasn't.
I have Alexa at my house and I've had Google Home, and most of the students have something like that or know about it at least. So it's not weird to them to talk to Merlyn.
You know what? I think it's a very valuable device. I think it opens the door to allowing our students to learn about what they will grow up alongside. We're already in the AI decade. It's already here. It's already started. And I think American schools have a long way to go to catch up.
I like using it, especially in science and social studies lessons. Kids have all kinds of questions. And I love that just mid-lesson, when they come up with something, we can just ask it right there.
There's no substitution for an in-person teacher and that in-person experience, but technology integrated to make that in-person learning environment more efficient and more effective and engaging, I think is definitely the wave of the future.
To be able to have that creative space to teach and have a tool that allows you to teach alongside you, that's huge. That's huge and truly innovative.
So the place I'd like to have Merlyn in my district is in every classroom.
So in that soundbite, teachers talked about the ability to detach themselves from their computers, just like we mentioned, and give students a little bit more attention. With that said, what are some ways that teachers have used MerlynMind to transform traditional lessons into a more dynamic experience for just everyone involved?
Yeah, and this kind of goes on to, I was actually just in a classroom last week with a teacher, and that's sort of where the magic happens. And it's interesting to think about what Merlyn does. And I talked about how, we've got all these tools. You're going to give me another thing. And one of the core beliefs about Merlyn is, well, how do we give somebody something that just helps them do what they already do? And it was very interesting to think about, if you're doing it already, would you be helped, or would it benefit you to not have to use your hands up at the computer to do it, but could you be in the classroom? And that goes along with, there's a tool called Cami that the middle school social studies teacher was using. And he walked me through kind of how Merlyn has changed his teaching, because he no longer has to be teaching from the front of the classroom. Right now, students have devices. All students have devices. So, that teaching from the front is even less of a thing now, because students are typically interacting with some sort of shared content that's on their device and or at the front of the room. But he walks around and he's able to use the remote to interact with the content on the front of the screen and the Cami, and he uses the remote to annotate on top of the PDFs or the websites that he's using. And it's really sort of an amazing thing, because he says, without this, I would be stuck at the front and I'd lose the connection with the students that I've developed. That's one teacher. Another teacher, and we think a lot about this, fits middle school. Where might this fit? Classrooms where you're mobile already is a perfect example. Spoke with an AP English teacher, right? 12th grade AP English. And, he says, this has changed the way I get to interact with students because I can go and pull up a chair and just sit with them. And we have conversations and we do the readings and we explore together. And, just simply that shift in environments and shift in location has made an impact. And then, we have some elementary teachers who really just embrace it because the kids still have that really wow factor. That's that wonder. And when they get to interact with Merlin, it's just such a fun and creative experience. So, across the board, just so many examples of how this can, small little tweaks can really impact.
In a recent Education Week article about AI in the classroom by Sarah D. Sparks, they reported that only 1 in 10 teachers said that they had used AI in the classroom in the past school year. 1 in 10. And of those educators who had used AI, fewer than 6 in every 10 surveyed found that the tools to be helpful. There's an imbalance.
Yeah.
How can MerlynMind change those numbers roughly from that 40 or 50% who don't think it's helpful to be something that's more supportive for teachers and their daily routines?
Yeah, well, AI is like I said earlier, there's a big umbrella with a lot of different components underneath it and a lot of misconceptions, right? And it's scary, right? It's like science fiction, right? There's still a good majority of folks who hear AI and you start to think about, okay, which movies did I see where AI just took over and the computer started, rule the world. So we need to kind of temper those fears as far as, okay, we're not in the science fiction movie. AI, there are people, it's like with any technology, there are things that you can do good with it. And there are things that some bad actors will do things with. But, generally it's how can we take the best of AI and use it in a way that makes sense. And, there's going to be a curve, there's going to be a learning curve when it's like with introducing anything. All right, how can I use this in a way that makes sense for me? So there's buckets of AI right now. There's AI tools that are marketed to teachers because they will help with lesson planning and help with content creation and saving time and writing messages, and all of that stuff's fantastic. There are AI tools that are more tutoring based. Right? You're hearing more about the programs that use AI to help act as a tutor. And then Merlin kind of sits in the middle of that, where it's like, how can we use this in class? How can we just make that classroom experience flow a little bit better? And also at the same time, you're exposed to AI. And as we kind of slowly, practice those things, then you add a little bit more. And then here's something else you can try. So in sort of a safer way, where if we can be safe and kind of friendly about it and non-threatening. Right. It's very overwhelming, all the things you can do with AI. Right. I've sat through a conference session recently and it was sort of a rapid fire. These are all the things you can do with AI. And you kind of had to stop and take a breath after a little bit, because it's really amazing. So with the kind of the overall, breadth of where you might end up on the spectrum of AI, I think just kind of level setting and making it make sense and making it not be too intimidating. And that's what Merlin does.
Right. And I think a lot of the teachers who have that fear factor that the world is coming to an end because of AI, I think those are the teachers that may not be as comfortable with technology, right? So those are the teachers who are afraid to take that just one step, because sometimes, yes, you said it, sometimes it comes down on people so fast and so hard and so many different ways or different applications that they kind of almost put up a front and say, I can't do this.
Yeah,
it's
we
too much.
crave
and
control.
Now you're telling, right. And exactly. And now you're telling people, okay, well, ChatGPT could create your lesson plan in 20 seconds, and it works and it's great. And there's some people who will embrace that, so it's interesting. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because MerlynMind does consider itself to be AI for education. That's the niche that we're looking at, and that's where we want to go with it. But we also have to take a look at it from another perspective and just play devil's advocate for a minute and address those people who do have those fears. So in where, AI in the classroom could possibly raise some privacy concerns for teachers, how does MerlynMind keep its product safe for teachers and students to use without having to worry about those other concerns, those outside problems?
Yeah. And that's if we go back to, the story about our founders and, deciding to how do we make lives easier, and let's model this after a kind of a home automation type situation. One of the things that there are people out there that say, I will never put a smart speaker in my home because I don't want them to be listening all the time, right? So when we were building the initial prototype of Merlyn, that was a huge factor. We can't just build a speaker that has a microphone on it and put it in the classrooms and not factor in the fact that these are classrooms. There are students, there are young students who are under 13, and that there's sensitive information that gets talked about. So all of those things were considered, and that's why it was a huge undertaking to make sure that we built this with those things in mind. Some of the simple things are essentially, if on my Alexa at home, if I start having a conversation with my wife about vacationing to the Bahamas, I'm suddenly going to get advertisements, right? Advertisements are going to show up all over the place about hey, Bahamas, right? So that's one of the things for when you're putting in a school. We don't do that. We don't sell any information. We don't identify voices, right? So one of the big questions people ask is, can I train Merlyn to only the teacher voice, right? And that would be identifying you. So that's a no, right? So making sure that those voice recordings are not saved, right? I ask it to do something, it changes it to a text transcript, and then it performs the function, and then the voice stuff is no longer necessary. So, definitely as far as, getting in the weeds, there's the specifics as far as how long those text transcripts are saved, and all of that is factored into making sure that you can be confident that you can utilize this product and not have to worry about some of the data leaking or being sold.
So I hope all those big cities that might be pushing back a little bit on this, I hope they heard that just now, because that's music to my ears to know that it is safe. I think teachers would feel a lot more comfortable, especially like you said, privacy concerns and things that could be said that should be kept in the classroom. And I think that's a great feature that MerlynMind has.
And we're very serious about making sure that we have created a product that allows schools to be within the constraints of FERPA and CAPA, right? So make sure that you can be compliant. And then as far as for the super technical folks, that we have done all of the security testing and whatnot that needs to be done from a data protection angle. So much different than if you tried to bring if you went to Best Buy and picked up a Google Home or an Alexa, not to pick on them, but those are just not built for classrooms. They're trying to monetize data. Right. We are simply providing the product that allows the teacher to be free.
So the ability, and this is the big thing, right? The ability to adapt regard to technology in education is crucial, even given how fast technology can and obviously has been changing over the course of even the last, I would even say 2 years. How has MerlynMind evolved over such a relatively short period of time to meet those changing needs of educators and students?
Yeah, Adam, part of that is a lot of that's what you don't see. So, typically, products are released and you think about how much time and research went into that. And so our company was officially started in 2018, but the original product wasn't released until 21. So it's almost like once that product's out, what's the next one? If you think about consumer, right? I always compare to consumer companies. Right? Apple just released the next iPhone. They're already working on the next one. So a lot of that is what we've been working on is now cool. So this all this generative AI stuff. Our team's been working on that for years, and so it's making sure that that we can stay relevant. Now, when ChatGPT was released officially in November of last year, well, that was like okay, here it is. This is the time. So let's get on with this. And as far as, and you have the experience with Merlyn and what it is today. And, we're going to talk about some things in a minute, I'm sure, of kind of what's coming. And you'll see a sort of a natural progression of how do we make this better? How do we add more features? How do we make it more accessible? Things like that. So just it's a lot of it's what you don't see going on in the background that's on the horizon for what's next.
Right. And that's a perfect segue into the next question, which was, are there any really cool innovations coming down the pike? Is there anything that you can share? And if you can't, that's okay. But if there's any like hints or some cool stuff, is there anything really good that teachers are gonna like just love to hear right now?
No, happy to, because so anyone listening that's heard of MerlynMind or maybe looks it up, and based on everything we've talked about so far, we've talked about this speaker with a microphone on it and then a remote. And that's what that's what you've been using. And the evolution is about to go into the next generation, Merlyn, where we're moving into a less of a hardware and more of a software space. So while that speaker was that's our first baby, right? That's the first child. We were so proud of that. And but there's some complexity there with the speaker. There's some extra connections that you have to go through, and you have to connect it to to Wi-Fi or hardwire. And essentially the next progression is we've now removed that from the equation. So the remote, remember that sort of magic Merlyn wand, you could think of it as that powerful remote is still necessary as it secures the voice transfer from the teacher to the computer. But now that remote just plugs Bluetooth connects into a computer. So we've made the connection a lot easier, a lot more seamless. And that solves a lot of questions and a lot of issues where I might be mobile and I can't carry this speaker and disconnect it every time. Now it's just I bring my laptop and I connect. So that's one thing, is the form factor has changed. The form factor is now just much more transportable and easy to access, which also brings the price down, right? So if someone's looking at purchasing one or outfitting their school, now it becomes much more accessible from that standpoint. And then with the software, all the things that Adam, that about, and that we've talked about, the automation, right? There's this sort of narrow use of AI with voice control over my browser and over applications and being able to search YouTube, and that all is still there. And with the things that we've been working on, we're now adding a custom Merlyn chat platform. And this is generative in the manner, sort of like ChatGPT and Bard. However, it's very specifically designed for use in class. And just sort of to oversimplify it a little bit is ChatGPT, Bard, all these big name models you've heard about they're wild. They're amazing. I mean, the things you do with those are amazing, but they're not exactly built to present information in a succinct and visual way for a classroom. And they're also they're trained, right? You hear about, well, how's that trained? It's trained on the entirety of the internet. So there's a chance that very confidently one of those language models will present to you an answer that sounds really good, but it's actually wildly incorrect, right? We call those hallucinations. So what Merlyn's doing is we actually started, and think about again where our founders came from, and building this AI research. How can we create a platform that's more reliable for schools, that's safe, private, and secure in respect that it is trained on curated educational content, so that when I'm using this, and asking it to do things and asking it questions, it's returning and generating the responses in a manner that's really appropriate, and I can be confident that it's accurate. I can use it in class, right? So I can reward that curiosity, dive in deeper to some topics, and it will give me an AI generated response that I could be very comfortable using in class.
That's really cool. You talk about Star Trek futuristic stuff here, right?
It's coming. It's coming. And on on the Merlyn team, I talked about the bucket earlier. Of one of the buckets of AI is, look, teacher prep, right? How much time, I remember when I was a teacher, how much time I spent lesson planning and doing all the paperwork stuff. that stuff's coming as well to the Merlin platform. That's as we get into 2024, there'll be some really exciting things coming. That again, this is all about how do we make good teachers great and average teachers better, and it's just everybody's going to be really supercharged by some of the things that AI can help us do. And just Merlin, we're trying to make sure that we do it in an order that makes sense and makes it less threatening and does the right thing at the right time for schools.
You've piqued my interest. I'm excited. And, to be honest with you, if you're not a fan of AI or this whole, just being afraid of that next step, that would be something that I think would help teachers who just might be afraid of that step to take that step. Just take it, to try it, to see how it could make your life easier. And you know what? I think it does. I really do. I've used some things, ChatGPT, MerlynMind. I've used it. I love it. And it does help. It really does. And when you're in the classroom at that moment and it does help and you realize it, that's it. You're good.
There you go.
Everything starts to flow.
Yeah.
So before we go, we're going to play a game in a minute called Input Output. Just tell everyone where technology teachers, coordinators, administrators, anybody who wants to know a little bit more about MerlynMind, where can they go for more information?
Yes, we're actually, this is very exciting because by the time this episode is aired, we'll have our website will be kind of spruced up and refocused a little bit to talk a little bit more about the updates that I mentioned. So they can reach us at the website is MerlynMind.ai, and it's MERLYNMIND.ai, MerlynMind.ai. Really exciting stuff.
Awesome. So we're going to play Input Output, and I'm just going to ask you a question, and all you have to do is give me the first thing that comes to your mind. So we'll start with the first question. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite app on your phone that you just can't live without?
Right now, it's the fantasy football, Yahoo Fantasy Football.
Best feedback from a teacher that you've heard regarding MerlynMind?
It has changed the way I teach.
There you go. It's so simple, right? But yet so profound. It really is. It really is. Favorite MerlynMind feature?
There's a feature where you can, if you're using Google Classroom, this is one that's a nice feature. But I can take any web resource and ask Merlin to share it with my class, and Merlin takes care of the rest.
If you can go back in time to when you were a kid and give yourself one piece of technology from today, what would it be?
That is a dangerous question, but I am just amazed by these VR goggles. I think this is the coolest thing. I bought my son a pair of the Meta, it used to be Oculus, and I tried that, and that was like, those are so cool.
Finally, last question. If you can challenge someone to make one small change with integration in their classroom, what would it be and why?
I mean, when I think back to when I was teaching, and I would challenge somebody to just pick a goal, right? Start from the end. Start with the end in mind, right? Pick a goal that you're trying to accomplish, and work backwards and evaluate. All right, what are some different ways I could do this? Because possibly what I'm doing isn't working, or I need a new way to inspire kids. So start with a goal or an objective that might be tightly related to a specific content, and then find out and talk to teachers and talk to your technology specialists and figure out, hey, if there's something I can try, and then try it. So pick a goal and explore a way to reach that goal.
Listen, Tim, this has been awesome talking to you again. We've spoken before. We've done work before together, and this has really been an amazing conversation today. Learned a lot, and I'm really excited about what's coming down the road here.
Yeah, this is super fun, and the next time I'm in the area, we'll have to show you the new stuff and get your hands on it and give it a try.
You don't have to ask me twice. Just tell me when and where.
That's right.
I'd like to thank Tim Hodkinson of MerlynMind for enlightening us and really giving us a sneak peek as to what's coming, and really cool stuff with MerlynMind and all, and just the use in the classroom. So thanks again.
Again, thank you, Adam, for the invite. This is really, really honored, honestly, to be a part of this. You're really exciting what you're doing, with the students in your class, but also with the podcast. And I think it's great. I can't wait to see it grow.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Classroom Dynamics, where knowledge and inspiration meets innovation. I hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and found it both to be insightful and uplifting. As always, my goal is to provide you with practical strategies, engaging stories, and powerful insights that can fuel your motivation as an educator. I believe that when knowledge and inspiration do come together, incredible things can happen in your classroom. And for all of you who feel that it's too late to strengthen your craft, I challenge you to make it your mission to do so. You've worked hard to get to where you are today, and it's never too late to infuse new life into your work, so why not make today that day to do so? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. You can follow Classroom Dynamics on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you know a teacher who may benefit from today's show, please share it with them. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep igniting that spark in your classroom and never stop believing in the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. If you loved this episode, you'll enjoy my conversation with Sue Thoughts of Common Sense Education. In this special episode celebrating Computer Science Week, we explore the dynamic landscape of digital literacy within the context of Computer Science Week. Sue shares her insights on cultivating a strong foundation in computer science education, offering practical advice for parents, educators, and students eager to navigate an ever-changing digital world. From decoding online content to fostering a love for coding, join us for a captivating conversation with Sue Thoughts, where we bridge the gap between digital literacy and the exciting opportunities that Computer Science Week brings to the forefront.
Yeah, so computer science, obviously it's not the first thing you think of when it comes to digital citizenship, but with a lot of the standards related to computer science, such as around the impacts of computing, and having students understand a lot of those social emotional skills when it comes to being creators. So our students, when we are giving them these computer science skills, they need to not only understand the ways in which they can be coding, right? It's not just the practice of making stuff, but it's about the impacts of what those types of creations are going to have on the real world.